In 1975, a band emerged from Newcastle upon Tyne with one of the most organ Mellotron rich UK albums of the entire decade, and then promptly disappeared. I am talking about Kestrel, and from that band's 1975 self titled singular album, the track Last Request.
I never could tell why you treat me so well when I'm bad to you. Most of the time, I love the end of the day when the morning can say I am gone. And I know the sun and the laughter are all gone away. And it's true, oh yeah.
Okay, we've got quite the soulful, quite the angelic intro, grandiose piano like ivory, at the threshold here. Let's see. I never could tell why you treat me so well when I'm bad to you most of the time, my love. The end of the day when the morning can say, I am gone and I know. The song and the laughter are all gone away. That is true. Oh yes, huh? This guy sounds kind of wicked. At first it was fine and I knew what was mine, but there came a day, I don't know why, my love. The sky turning gold and the tales that you told to me, oh believe me, I never wanted this to be this way. And it's true, oh yes. All good things have to end, hurt people have to mend. Don't you believe that it's true? So come on and rise. Wipe the sleep from your eyes and know, never look back again, sunshine and falling rain. Never believe what you see, for the poorest win. And the people who sin die with me, my love, and nobody takes them away. Huh. So he's walking out on a woman who he done wrong, and he's just basically leaving a parting shot to her, telling her to keep her chin up and move on with her life. Kind of cold, but he's being kind of, he seems to be kind of speaking out of both sides of his mouth here. On one hand, he's giving her the backhand, but he's also trying to kind of encourage her, to just be strong and hold her head up high. He's almost like, doing it in a somewhat patronizing way, though. Yeah.
First it was fine, and I knew what was mine, but there came a day, I don't know why, I love.
Suddenly, having read that far into the lyrics, now this is making the music feel kind of different. It's somewhat kind of undercutting the initial emotion that I was getting when I played the first 30 seconds. And like, oh, well, I guess hearing the song for the first time in 3 years, well, whatever. It's like when I got into this album like 15 years ago, I was mostly following like just the swelling choruses and just being swept up by the feeling, by the melody, by the soaring vocals, and not really paying much mind. Like, what might he be singing about?
The sky turning gold and the tales that you told to me. What will you give me? I never wanted things to be this way. And it's true, oh yeah. All good things have to end, but people have to let. Don't you believe that it's true? So come on and rise, wipe the
Now that is some chorus. The way it just swells up, and particularly on the lines, "And the people who sin die with me, my love, and nobody takes them away." This guy seems to be somewhat as if he seems to be at peace with his own conscience, while acknowledging that, according to his doctrine anyway, he's a sinner, according to his own upbringing and values as he understands them. He's a sinner, and that though people like him are kind of he's resigned to his fate in the end once his time comes. Yeah, and the way his voice just like swelled out, and he went kind of into that whole other tone, and then and then finally the way the chorus just rescinds, and that ivory reemerges, just beautiful.
So look at yourself, no, you're not on the shelf, it's a state of mind. I know it well, my love. The winds of the earth and the jokes and the mirth that you hear in your head, and God will provide for you, and that is true. Anytime, anytime, anytime. All good things have to end, bad people have to mend. Don't you believe that it's true? So come on and rise, wipe the sleep from your eyes, and know. Never look back again, sunshine or morning rain. Never believe what you see, for the forest wind and the people listen down to me, my love. Nobody feels me. I feel the same with you.
Okay, time to introduce some of the great talent on board. Drums, David Whittaker, who had played in Gin House, I think. Yeah. Well, according to RYM, but not according to. Huh. Looks like the information. It's surprising that the information is kind of screwy on Discogs. Although they Discogs recently deleted the entry I put in for this album, and so no wonder there's a few bugs in their links here. Yeah, one instance where RYM actually is the more resourceful. Yeah, click on Dave Whittaker. He was in Gin House. He was in Kestrel. Yeah, Gin House was another one album act from 1971, and he was in Geordie, that band with Brian Johnson. Let's see. The the keyboards are by John Cook, who 35 credits according to Disgust. Oh, he was in Midnight Flyer. Yeah, the the band with Maggie Bell from Stone the Crows. Yeah, great 1981 album on Swan Song. And he was also in he was in the Octopus. There were a lot of bands called Octopus. Well, there were a lot of German bands called. He was in the 1970 Octopus with Nigel Griggs and Malcolm Green, who later turned up in split ends. Um, that octopus evolved out of the Cortinas, a 60s pop psych band that put out this cute little single called Phoebe's Flower Shop. And Nigel Griggs's brother ended up in Guys and Dolls, this kind of English Lawrence Welk type cabaret review. A six-piece of like three male female pairs, like vocal type thing, and one of the pairs left and became Dollar. That, talk about some really divergent family ties there. And on guitar and vocals we've got Dave Black, who was on that 1976 Spiders from Mars album. Yeah, who I'm trying to think. Yeah, that was Ronson, Woodsmaney, Boulder, and him and another guy. And let's see. And lead vocals, Tom Knowles, who, according to this, was in a band called Goldie, a pop band. After this, don't know anything about that. And reached number 7 in 1978 UK singles chart with the song "Making Up Again." That's a new one to me. Fenwick Moir on bass. This is his only credit, according to this. Yeah. I gotta say, one more thing about the lyrics is that before he delivers that immortal line, "And the people who sin die with me, my love, and nobody takes them away," he says, "Never believe what you see, for the poorest win." What he's saying there, it seems to be to the woman he's done wrong and is now leaving. He seems to be delivering the message that even though things look bleak around her because of the situation that he's left her in, and that she seems like the loser right now, he's saying the poorest win. So the people who've been aggrieved, who've been wronged by others, are the people who get salvation in life in the end. While people like him end up, well, as he's kind of implying in the next couple of lines, going down to the fiery pits of you-know-what when he checks out. I didn't blow the speakers out. Let's a few more lyrics that I didn't quite cover. So look at yourself, no, you're not on the shelf. It's a state of mind, I know it well, my love. Now that's actually a positive message for her if she feels like, like she's past her prime or whatever, and he's encouraging her. The winds are the earth and the jokes and the mirth that you hear in your head. And God will provide for you, and that is true anytime, anytime, anytime. I feel the same every day. He's gotten a bit more positive and encouraging to her. It's almost like he, on some level, he's acknowledging that that if he stayed with her, he would just be dragging her down, and that she's too good for his negative influence and his kind of self-destructive ways, and just self-seeking, misanthropic. Well, I'm imagining that this guy is rather nefarious and that he has played mind games with people, because he's got quite a way of of splitting hairs in a way of like turning compliments into insults or of of kind of squeezing insult into compliments and such and making things kind of two-pronged. I would imagine that this guy would be a really difficult person to get along with. I feel the same every day. I was alone and they don't believe me. They're satisfied I can't formulate my own affairs. So that someone cares about my life. I feel the same. I was, now this kind of throws me a bit. This is like the middle late lyrics. I was alone and they don't believe me. They're satisfied I can't formulate my own affairs. So that someone cares about my life. I feel the same every day. Wow, he's kind of almost giving fragmented statements there, as if that he's trying to say something, that he is desperate to get something off his chest, but doesn't quite want to admit what it is he needs to say, and so he's just kind of speaking almost in code. Yeah. It took me a few minutes to get used to the message of these lyrics before I could get back into the song. At first, I was kind of thrown, because I kind of saw this as like a more stately kind of almost kind of gospel influenced number, and I had to like realign my attitude somewhat to get back into the track after I had read the lyrics, thinking it was almost a mistake to have read so much of them before I let the song play through. But in the end, I think I've enjoyed this song this time, going through it and actually having lyrics to follow in mind too than all the times I've played it in the past. Let's hear another track from the album, August Carol. Great, like organ guitar intro with like some kind of like almost like band kind of fugue like lines on the organ, and just that tasty like angular riffage, kind of like somewhat kind of like on that Alquin album, or yeah.
I was alone one night, a hand touched my shoulder. She stood before me with the hair like silver firelight. She had such a way that I couldn't say exactly what she said to me, but she asked if I would follow my dizzy head. Just said yes.
Let's see. I was alone one night. A hand took my shoulder. She stood before me with her hair like silver firelight. She had such a way that I couldn't say exactly what she said to me, but she asked if I would follow my dizzy head. Just said yes. It sounds like he's being picked up by a strange lady. That I love the way that he stretches his voice out, and the chords just kind of keep kind of like unfolding, like that, like the section kind of like unfolds with a few kind of extra chords in a way that are kind of like outside what you anticipated, given the patterns that we had been hearing, and
Let me go away now. I see the day when I will ride again. You see, it was all I really needed to fight again. Let me live. My breath began to fade as I saw mistakes I made then.
I love the the switch between like major and minor modalities in this is it's kind of like I think I'm hearing chords where they stay in the same key, yet they just kind of drop the third from like major to minor or something. It's a great harmonic device. It's hard to like pause because he just like keeps on singing and singing and singing and stretching out and things keep like unfolding. It kind of like unfolds that elevated landing and then it keeps on going on from there. And let's see where this plot has taken us. My head was aching with a pain like a furnace. I realized that I cannot live the old way now again. Let me go away now. I see the day when I'll be right again, you see. It was all I really needed to find again. Let me live. My breath began to fade there. I saw mistakes I made there. The ruin lies before me. Thank God they never saw me. All of the people in an August carol with me. Okay, at first I thought that he was getting picked up by a strange lady at a bar. Now I am quite a bit far from that impression. She let me see the nights I lied to my good friends, and all the many things I'd done and times I'd run away. Well, I just had to ask then, please let me live my life again. Because you know I've got nothing left to love for. Now I can see what I really am. Okay, now that kind of leads me back to maybe that he was drawn into a life of temptation with a woman, with a strange woman who wasn't necessarily the kind of woman that he was raised or the kind of woman that he would have wanted to have brought home to his mother. The third, the penultimate stanza would indicate that he had lived kind of more a life of virtue before this, or as he would perceive that anyway. At times, these lyrics are intriguing. I get the feeling that maybe the lyricist is trying to be coy at times and leave. Yeah, the songs are written by guitarist vocalist Dave Black, but not the lead vocalist. I guess the backup vocalist. Yeah, I get the feeling like he's trying to put across that he's relating life experiences, perhaps, and what both these songs seem to have in common lyrically is this kind of good boy gone wrong, or, well, in the case of August Carol anyway, and the first one may be a grifter with who's at a grifter with a conscience on some level, but in both he seemed in both songs he seems to kind of also have some kind of like a religious side, like a religious conscience that's fighting against what he's ended up the decisions that he's made here in life. Yeah. But he doesn't necessarily want to give too much away. He wants to leave things to the imagination, and so some of these lines are kind of indirect.
My breath began to fade out. I saw mistakes I made then. The ruined lies before me. Thank God they never saw me. All of the people living August carrying me.
A real thick kind of tone, that lead tone, and yeah, just the really kind of messy, kind of rough organ sound that you weren't quite getting as much of by 1975. And that's why some people who know this album tend to group it more in with the early 70s, because by 1975 things were going a bit more polished, cleaner, slicker a bit. And and so this is often kind of like placed more in the same areas like Fields, Spring, Czar, those albums, those kind of rougher, kind of icier, like albums from the 70s, 71 era. More to come. Mellotron Heaven. Isn't it amazing how with like when you have an instrument that has like a certain like tonal richness to it, all you need to do is just strum like kind of like some open cadence chords, throw in like some like kind of like booming like like and rhythmic figures, and just let the instrument, let that mellotron just work its magic, weaving, kind of like spiraling, icy tonal color, like the way it'll have like this one thick kind of frosty layer working over, and then that'll kind of fade, and then like another kind of slightly maybe thinner one will work its way up, and then kind of like perforate, or you know. wailing guitar sounds, just lyrical leads, sustained licks, like just holding those notes, like just making them pierce and cry through the like ice and the fog of that Mellotron, and then throw in like a few faster licks. Oh, that really deep tone. Notice how the Mellotron has kind of like this choral sound to it. It sounds like there's these voices that are going, ah. And you know, the biggest surprise of all is that I had forgotten that like outro, that postlude to August Carol was there, that it was part of the same track, really. That kind of separate piece, that big lengthy open cadence epic kind of anthemic Mellotron guitar sequence, yeah, beautiful. Just so basically that was the equivalent of like three great tracks from the 1975 Singular album by Kestrel. Yeah, it came almost out of nowhere, it seemed, and just went right back there, unfortunately, but left us one great album, one of 1975's best in a very, very competitive year. And yeah, little to compare it to, but that last section kind of invokes some of the essence of like the spring. Well, the Mellotron passages anyway. I'm thinking of like Spring and Fountain of Psalmodus by Genesis. To name two of the foremost examples of like pure, thick, icy Mellotron. And then of course the guitar was like a whole nother dimension. I'm thinking of like Ange as well, like from their 1974 album, that big like sidelong epic on there. Like some of the pieces like on side two, where they mix like that guitar and that really thick wailing lyrical guitar with like Mellotron, yeah, of the 1970 Ange's third album, yeah. For more rubies and sapphires from the Kestrel album, see the directory of albums by English K artists, linked in the description below, for red hot tracks and tasty purples from this ruby-packed album, as well as many other bands and artists in the K part of the English alphabet, you know, like the Kinks, King Crimson, Kevin Ayers, Kevin Coyne, Kaja Gugu, Kate Bush, the Kurzweil Flyers, Crazy Cat, Killing Joke, Keith Hartley Band, yeah, list goes on and on and on. Like and subscribe and follow me on social media, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the two tracks we just heard, the layers, the instrumentation, the nuances, the tones, the thickness of it all, the epic feel, the emotional impact that had on you, the vocals, the vocal flair and theatrics of the piece, the lyrics, the meaning, what some of those lines may have meant to you. If you have different interpretations of certain lines, I would like to know what those mean, the moral of the story behind each song. Yeah. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most air travel trimaximalist, signing off.